Welcome back to the fourth episode of Charity Cup Chats. This week I'm delighted to be joined by former shrimper and current Leyton Orient striker Matt Harrold. Matt, how are you, mate?
Yeah, I'm all right. Hanging in there with all the obviously change of the world at the moment, but yeah, getting through it. Hopefully, there's a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel now. So yeah, not too bad.
Definitely, things starting to look on the up for everyone, I'm sure.
Yeah, definitely.
I want to start off by taking you back to your childhood. You joined West Ham Academy, is that right?
Yeah, that's right. I was probably, I don't know, 11, 12 years old. So I went on trial to a lot of clubs back then. I was at Millwall, Norwich, went to Arsenal, Tottenham, but eventually, yeah, West Ham. Kind of met the manager there. Kind of showed me around the training ground and everything. So I ended up signing for West Ham, and I didn't have a great time actually. I think it was when you're young and everyone grows at different stages and stuff, and there was a lot of boys from like South London who I didn't really know, I didn't really click with. So it was quite tough from that kind of 12 to 14 year like age group. So I didn't actually enjoy football too much for that 2 years. So yeah, it was tough. I lost a bit of confidence and I'd say love for the game, but it took me a couple of years. One of the dads at West Ham, whose boy got released as well, actually started a team. So I joined them and just kind of got the love back for it, started enjoying it. And that's what I say now to all the young lads at the club. You've got to enjoy it. If you enjoy the game, then you're going to play better and things are going to go better. But it was a good learning curve there because I just did learn that, you've got to enjoy what you do. And if you're not enjoying it, then what's the point, That's when you're going to play better.
Yeah, do you think the environment was too pressurised?
Yeah, maybe. It's probably something to do. I think there's when you're a young lad and you just want that to be your job so bad, you want to play football for a living and stuff, then there is quite a bit of pressure. And I think especially as I said, like physically I had probably hadn't developed as much as a lot of the other players there. So I was struggling from that point of view, and I probably weren't getting how I wanted to play across. And then it's easy then to lose confidence in yourself, especially. So yeah, it was a bit of a learning curve and a struggle. And I really, especially as they wanted me to join so bad, and they kind of like rolled the red carpet out for me. And the next thing I know, I'm kind of like hardly playing a game and stuff like that. It was tough. So I think pressure is definitely a part of it. My mum and dad never really put that loads of pressure on me. So I didn't have it from them, but I had a lot of pressure on myself from my own point of view.
Yeah, so your first real break in football was in non-league. You played quite a young age. What was that pressure like, obviously, playing in a men's game?
Yeah, it was good. It was different because, in a way, the pressure of professional football wasn't there, and I just had my own pressures because I just basically wanted to play, enjoy it. And I started hearing a few things that when you're playing men's football at 17, then clubs do come and watch you. So I started to hear that, and I just felt in a lot more confident, better position in myself. So for the next challenge, whatever that would have been, I felt like I was in a better place going into it, definitely. So it was tough. I mean, there was a couple of games where kind of some older non-league players were kind of like elbowing me and kind of spitting on me and all kind of things like that. I think I played against Hornchurch once, and there was a bloke who just kind of just terrorised me. But it's all a good learning curve, isn't it? I do it to the young lads now.
Would you say it helped you like mature quicker and helped you become a better player?
Yeah, definitely. I think it actually made me realise, even though the level wasn't professional, it made me realise I could handle it. I could handle the men's game and the physical side of it. Not all of the time, but the majority of the time. So it definitely matured me, and I came out of it a lot better than I was before. So it was good. I mean, I wouldn't have wanted to do it for 15 years at that level, really. But yeah, no, it was a good learning curve.
Yeah, and then in 2003, you joined Brentford, your first professional club you was at. What was that jump like? What were your initial thoughts?
Initial thoughts were interesting. So they were in League One. I didn't even know who Brentford were. I've kind of always watched Premier League years and stuff. So they were in League One, and I went there and trained at the end of one season. And I'll be honest with you, I got there and I weren't too impressed with what they were like. It was mad. And I thought, hang on, I can handle this. It's okay. And then they signed me that summer. It's funny actually. The guy who signed me, he actually died last week. Johnny Griffin, his name was. So I owe him a lot. So it was really sad last week. But he kind of gave me my chance. He kind of said, I weren't on much money at the time. And he kind of said, look, we're going to give you a shot. There's a year's contract. This is your money. I think it's 200 quid. And it was like, take it or leave it. And I thought, you know what, I've got to take this. Yeah. And then, joined Brentford. And it was interesting, really, because we were a team that was struggling. I was a young lad. And we just didn't, we just weren't a great team. And I kind of sensed that I'd kind of come from non-league and gone to that level. And it wasn't that much of a step up in standards and ability level and stuff. So I was a bit kind of like, I kind of knew, hang on, we might struggle a bit. So I got a little bit of a chance in that first season where I joined. I actually scored a hat-trick in my third game in the FA Cup, right foot, left foot header. So that's always nice. Yeah. And that was when I really felt like I've arrived kind of thing.
Definitely.
So yeah, it was good.
And like you said, you scored a hat-trick. You are still, I think, Brentford's youngest ever hat-trick scorer. What's that feeling like?
Yeah, it's nice, isn't it? It's I'll tell my kids that. I'm sure they're not that bothered, but to see actually where Brentford are now and how well they're doing, it's quite a nice stat, you know. So
especially considering they play a lot of young players now.
Yeah, definitely. So I don't know how much longer the record will go. So I must have been 18 or 19 when I've done that. So yeah, probably will be broken fairly soon. But it's really proud moment. And to be honest, once that happened, my self-belief and my confidence just went to another level. But then I picked up an injury and I just couldn't get back. It was like a groin injury. And it felt like the first season, it got to such a good level where I was so confident and stuff. And then that kept me down. And then the manager left and Martin Allen joined as manager, and he was brilliant. He saved us from relegation.
Yeah.
He was different. He was incredible. Like, he would swim across like this dirty canal before a game against Hartlepool Way. And then the next day we got in a changing room and there was like his motto was up there. So he said, if you're going to say you're going to swim something, you got to do it. And then we got in a Hartlepool dressing room the next day, and there was like signs all over the dressing room. If you say you're going to do something, do it. And they were in the playoffs, and we beat them 2-1, and we went on a run, and we stayed up we were like 9, 12 points adrift maybe, and we ended up staying up, signed a new contract, kind of doubled my money. He negotiated with me on the golf course in Ireland. It's like we stayed up and he took us to Ireland for a little trip, like staying up celebration. And I got on the golf course with him and he went, right, do you want to stay? And I was like, yeah. He went, right, well, there's that's your money. I was like, I need to speak to my agent and stuff. And he was like, well, it's take it or leave it, you know, like things aren't done like that now, but it was interesting. He was a good character and he actually done really well with that side. And next year we got in the playoffs, but I hardly played.
Yeah, like you said, second season playoff semi-finals. You had a few loan spells that year. What's that like for a player being in the loan system? Is it like nervous, or are you like etching to prove yourself?
Yeah, it can work both ways. So, I mean, I expected to play quite a lot that season because I ended the season with him playing, but they signed Dion Burton, Isaiah Rankins, so like good, experienced players, and I didn't get a look in. And to be honest, I probably needed to go elsewhere to feel comfortable and play every week. So, at Dagenham, did I go Dagenham first? I think, yeah. So I went to Dagenham and Redbridge. Yeah, and I didn't enjoy it that much. So I obviously went on loan. That was my first time, and it was into non-league, and I don't know. I just didn't get a great feeling about it. But then I ended up going to Grimsby, which is like up north, away from home. I was staying in a guest house, watching Sopranos on a DVD player all week. But I scored in my first 2 games, and that was like, wow. You know, the crowds really took to me, and it was unbelievable. So like when people talk about Grimsby and like, oh, do you want to go and play there? I think it's all linked to how you do. You know, if you're loved somewhere and you're doing well, then you do it. So I learned loads in that loan spell. But then Martin Allen called me back for the end of the season, and it was weird. So I'd gone from being an important player and feeling comfortable to going back to somewhere where I didn't.
Yeah.
So it's just one of the things. You just moved on. It was just a natural time to move on, and it's, as everything in your career, if you have a long one, it's all a learning curve and a learning experience, you know.
Yeah, and then in 2005, you were bought by Yeovil, coming off the back of a promotion. What was that club like?
That was great. That was an eye opener because I was still quite green and quite raw, I'd say. And then that was a team with a Gary Johnson as manager, who he can be as vicious as they come in terms of speaking his mind and telling you what he thinks. And I went to Yeovil. It was a great decision to go there because they were all a team that's together. You live close to the training ground. Your life's football, so it was perfect. But I didn't start well there at all. I come into a group, had all success together and promotion together, 2 promotions, and they just were such a tight knit. And I probably weren't at their level footballing wise either. They're a good side. And it took me a long time to adapt, and it was hard because he weren't kind of like bleeding me in slowly. He was basically like, why aren't you doing this? You ain't shown enough yet. You need to do better. And when you're away from home, it was hard.
Yeah.
So I struggled a bit to start with, and then he ended up getting a Bristol City job. So he left. But by that time, to be honest, I'd played a bit under him, and he tested me, and I'd overcome the test, which was it was nice to do. And then I always remember he left, and then we played Port Vale on the Saturday. So I think he left on the Friday, and I was on the bench, and I come on with 20 minutes to go, and it was 0-0, and I ended up scoring a goal. And to be honest, for the 3 weeks before that, he was hammering me in training every day and games, like, you're never going to score a goal. You're never going to score. And I was like, blimey, this is a bit harsh.
Yeah.
And then I scored within about 5 minutes of a new manager being there. So I remember I was driving back to London the night after it, and my phone rang, and he'd had a good result at Bristol City in his first job. So he must have been happy about that. And he rang me on the way home, and he went, I knew you were going to fucking score as soon as I left, like that. So it was good. And then it was weird when I actually joined Southend. I could have actually joined Bristol City.
Yeah.
In hindsight, it's probably a bad decision going to Southend. But yeah, it was mad how things work like that, you know?
Yeah. Do you think there was a method to his antics, or do you think it was just him as a person?
Well, it's clearly in his character to be like that.
Yeah.
I don't know whether it's because he's small but hopefully he don't watch this. But no, he definitely tests. I think his motto is either make you or break you, and
Cool.
I like to think I can deal with kind of like the mental side of that. And I had a lot of desire to overcome it and do well and have a good career. So eventually I got over it, and it was a confidence thing, you know. And I think he toughened me up, definitely.
Yeah.
It weren't easy, mate, honestly. Like some nights I'd come home and I'd be like, God, this is no good. Like this is really tough. But he definitely made me a lot stronger and a lot more kind of resilient and stuff. So and he's had a great career as a manager. Yeah. And I probably got to a level under him. Yeah, I got to a level under him where I'm like, God, I didn't know I could even do that. Yeah. So I learned a lot, and it's good going forward. And I can tell why his son's obviously a great manager at Bristol City now as well. So he's hard, but it's fair to an extent, and it can just bring something out of you. So it's really interesting. That's why management's so interesting.
Yeah, and obviously there's not much to do in Yeovil, is there? So was your mind always on football?
Yeah, and that's the thing. And we had a great team spirit. We had an incredible kind of group of lads who'd train. You'd get in early. You'd do stuff like core work and weights and stuff. You'd train. You'd then maybe do another session in the afternoon. You'd go for a coffee with the lads and stuff. So it was just pure football, and it's what I needed. And I probably left too soon. Yeah. In hindsight, but obviously joining Southend at that time was a bit of a no-brainer, you know.
Yeah. So like you said, in 2006, there's a bit of a transfer saga. A few teams were in for you, and then you ended up joining us on deadline day. What's that like, deadline day, for a player, not knowing what your future's going to be like?
Yeah, it was mad. So in my actual, like, deep down, I think I thought I needed to stay at Yeovil,
Yeah.
because I was developing and stuff like that. But I spoke to Steve Tilson on the phone. There was a bit of a connection there with my missus' family. Were friends with Tilly.
All right.
So I played against Southend that season and done okay. And when they got promoted in League One, they had a really good team. Like, I remember playing against them. Like, oh, they've got some good players. So there was a bit of a transfer saga, and in my heart, I was like, I want to stay.
Yeah.
But when you've got a Championship club knocking back round the area you're kind of from, I was from Woodford, but my missus was from kind of Billericay Railway.
Yeah.
So it's a decision I kind of felt I had to make, and it's a Championship, and I was ambitious and I wanted to step up. And I knew they had a good team, and I knew I maybe wouldn't play every week, but I'd develop. So under a good manager. It went through. I don't know what I went for in the end, 70 grand maybe. And I drove up. I remember I thought it'd all finished because it was kind of to and fro.
Yeah.
And my agent rang me about 5 o'clock on deadline day, maybe a bit earlier. And he was like, "Get in the car. You're going to Rootsall now to sign." And I'm like, "Oh my God." So I remember going up there to Rootsall. I reckon I got there. I think this was when deadline day was midnight or 11. And I think I got there about 10 o'clock up to Rootsall. Ron was there up in the office with Tilly and Brushy. And he showed me the plans for the stadium.
Oh, brilliant.
And I'm sure he showed
every
1,000 players. Yeah. And it all sounded brilliant. I'll never forget, Ron got me there and went, "So what are you good at then?" Like, from a playing point of view. And I think Tilly kind of went a bit like, "Oh," but I was like, "Well, this, that, the other." I can't exactly remember. I think I said I was a good finisher, but that didn't really come to fruition at Southend. But so that was how it went. It was mad. It was like the maddest day of my life. Up to that stage, and got there. It was all kind of like so quick and everything. Then I trained the next day. And that was mid-season in the Championship, and they'd actually started the season quite well. And I think my first game was maybe a 0-0 draw with Sheffield Wednesday, and then I came on against Norwich on the Tuesday night, and I really had an impact in the game, I remember. And I think a few fans at the time were maybe a bit like, "Oh, who's this? Like, do we need another striker and stuff?" But I was very conscious of proving myself. We had Billy Painter, me, Lee Bradbury, Freddie. We had some options, you know. Gary Hooper, obviously.
Yeah, definitely. And then you got your first goal away at the Hawthorns. What was that like? Obviously, one of the biggest grounds in the league.
Yeah, brilliant. Like, that was an incredible kind of thing. And this is what I still have so many regrets about the Southend move, because I started, actually, if you look, like, obviously I look back at my time there and it wasn't a success by any means. And it got really hard at one point, but it started so well. I remember coming on in the Championship and having an impact in games, and then I scored against West Brom, and then I scored against Wolves away, although we lost. And I felt like I was finding my feet, and I probably played maybe a bit more than I probably should have. But we had a couple of injuries and the team was struggling, and I was training well. So training is always a gauge of if you play or not. So it was mad. We probably just weren't a good enough team at that level. And things went against us in certain ways, but we ended up getting relegated, didn't we? So, I mean, it was brilliant scoring at them grounds, playing at them grounds, having an impact. I probably played like maybe 15 starts or 20 games, 25 games at Championship level at a young age. So it was really good. And I really, although we got relegated, I was really looking forward to League One and playing and stuff. So, it was just how it worked out in the end wasn't ideal, but...
Yeah, we'll talk more about the second season in a bit. But what was Steve Tilson and the squad like for you?
Yeah, good. It was different to Yeovil, because I think Yeovil was everyone was together all the time. With Southend, people travelled in from different areas, so it wasn't as close, tight knit, but it was it obviously was. It had a great spirit about
Yeah.
it. But it was a much more mature, older dressing room, and there was some great lads there who I still speak to now. It was like a tough dressing room. It was demanding and stuff, which I enjoyed.
Yeah.
Tilly was the manager, and Tilly, like the players loved him, and Brushy, to be fair.
Yeah.
They loved him, and I think he had the chance to leave, didn't he? That summer.
Yeah, I
he
think
could
so,
have
but
left.
he decided to stay. Yeah.
Yeah, and in hindsight, probably should have left in the end. But
Yeah.
I remember getting there, and the levels and the standard of training was high.
Mm.
So, and Tilly management style was to keep players happy,
Yeah.
and
Good
just
man
keep
manager.
a steady ship. Yeah, good man manager. His sessions were really good. And I just found maybe by the end of the season, when we maybe needed a tiny bit more direction, we maybe didn't get as much as we could have. But I think he was still probably quite a young manager in his own right, you know.
Still learning.
So it's crazy to see him out of the game now, considering what he achieved so quickly then, which is mad. But it was a good team spirit, because you had people like Spencer Pryor.
Yeah.
It's like I remember watching in the Premier League or whatever, and he was like a funny character. You had obviously Mark Gower and Kev, Adam Barrett, great lad.
Yeah, legend.
You know, I still see Ad now every now and again, and he's obviously at Millwall. Surprised he ain't had the Southend job yet. I'm sure he will.
I know.
Get
I
it one
think
day.
every fan feels like that.
Yeah, he's a great guy.
Yeah.
Obviously, my best pals, Frano, the right back, Simon Francis, who's had an unbelievable career.
Yeah.
Jamal, I still speak to Jamal. So we had such a good squad, yeah.
Yeah, and I'll bring it up just because you mentioned it when you joined. What was Ron Martin like? Is he as unique as he comes across in the media?
Yeah, I mean, what is the opinion of Ron from the fans? Because I know he's had ups and downs.
Yeah.
I do think he means well.
I think right now everyone wants him to leave. He's had his time. I think he's not run the club well recently. Yeah,
I mean, the amount of times I picked see in the news that the tax, like the HMRC,
I think we're like 18-0 up on the government at the moment.
And the thing is, I feel sorry for the players, mate, because obviously I'm in the PFA at the moment, and I'm in the group of 6 people who are trying to look after the players during this time, and it's hard hearing what the Southend players and they're not getting paid and stuff like that. It's not good. So Ron was Ron in terms of. I remember we had much. Remember Michael Ricketts? Obviously, we signed him in the Championship, and the lads weren't happy with like the food at the training ground at the time. We were getting kind of beans on toast every day.
Cool.
So the lads, which look, footballers want good food, and that we're in the Championship, so you deserve certain things. Yeah. So I remember we called a meeting, and Ron come to the training ground. And Rico, who was kind of like had the highest profile at the club, kind of went about the food, and Ron just shut him down. He was like, "Well, you ain't even been fit. You ain't even played." Like that. And everyone was like, "Oh my god, Ron's on the front foot." You know, like Ron could have a row.
Yeah.
And that was then when I thought, "Cool, I'm too young to be getting involved with this."
Yeah.
You know, I'll leave this to the older fellas. So. That was one incident that stayed with me. And then I remember, I don't know what league it was in, but he came in the change room once and he went mad. Like, Tilly was still in charge. Obviously, I only ever played on Tilly. But Tilly, and I think he come in and he went ballistic in the change room and kind of went, you're all fucking crabs. You don't go anywhere. And I think Tilly, to be honest, kind of told him where to go.
Yeah.
And there was a big Barney. But I think he means well, and he wants the club to do well, but the way he's gone around it's probably not worked out well, you know? I mean, the stadium, it does feel like there are a lot of blocks in place, which I'm surprised the council have.
Yeah, I think they've changed it now. It was originally going to be a cinema and shops and that, but they've turned it all into housing just so the council say yes.
Oh, really? But it's a shame an area like that. I would have thought the big complex would have been actually probably pretty good for the area. So
I think they're just looking after the high street.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's that. Yeah.
Which I suppose I get, but I do think it will be good. I mean,
yeah.
What will Ron? I mean, will someone take over? Has there been any rumours? Or
Well, I think there's rumoured of Tara Brady and a consortium, but I don't think anyone will take it off him at this moment in time.
Yeah, of course, yeah. And so I saw a rumour he might
Yeah, well,
leave.
do you see his Instagram? His posts, their quality. It's
Oh,
like,
really?
it's like a puzzle watching his Instagram.
Oh, really? And,
Yeah.
and do the fans liked him?
Yeah, I don't think anyone's judging him because obviously it's not his players. He's using the youth squad,
Oh,
isn't he?
100%. Yeah,
But
100%. And in a way, it's worked out better, isn't it? Like,
yeah. Well, we've
it's
gone
given
from
like
losing
young
7
players.
to 6-0 to 3-0, so slow steps.
Yeah, it must be quite a tough environment to play in actually this season.
Yeah, probably. Especially considering they're not getting paid as well, months delays and things like that.
Yeah, it's tough, really tough.
Yeah, and then I think they went to the PFA and the PFA done a statement on Ron and he said, if they've got beef, meet me. Something like that, which is crazy. But
childish.
yeah, a little bit, especially when he's done all the things he's done. But we'll move on to the second season.
Yep, no worries.
Freddie Eastwood leaves. There's pressure on you to be sort of the main man. But it didn't really kick off well and the fans got on your back, putting it lightly. How do you deal with that pressure?
Yeah, it wasn't easy at the time, actually. So it was tough, because as I said before, we got relegated and I just thought, right, League One, I'm going to attack it. And I had the best pre-season ever. I think I scored about 8 goals in pre-season.
Yeah.
And played really well. And then the season started, and as I've seen a lot of times, you can score as much as you want in pre-season. When you start the next season and you like once the league games start and you don't score. So I remember our first game was Leyton Orient, funny enough, where I am now.
Yeah.
And we lost 2-1. I didn't have a great game. I was actually quite nervous going into it because I thought I've got to do well here. And there was a few grumblings. I could feel it. Yeah. And then obviously a team that comes down from the Championship are expected to either go back up or do really well. And we didn't start the season that well. And I was a bit of a whipping boy. But I understand. I weren't actually playing great myself. Yeah. I was doing everything I could. I was trying my hardest. I was working as hard as I could. The ball weren't really going in the net. And it was affecting me probably. Like I was still probably fairly young and couldn't... I probably weren't good enough to score 20 goals in League One and be that Freddie Eastwood type, you know? So I probably needed a bit of help around me and stuff. But I took the brunt of the frustrations, I'd say.
Yeah. And
it weren't easy, no, it weren't, because all you want to do is do well, and you could feel the grumbling. I remember hailing my missus, kind of getting on a train once to London to go to work, and there were Southend fans on there, and they were hammering me on there. And she didn't tell me at the time, but later on she told me about it. So that weren't nice to know that. But I understand it, mate. I'm a football fan myself, and I can get frustrated with players. Like I watch Arsenal sometimes, and I'm like, what's he doing and stuff. So now I understand it. It weren't nice at the time, but it did make me a lot mentally stronger, I'd say. Because I learned to deal with it and get through it.
Do you think there was that over expectation? Because obviously Freddie Eastwood probably still is the best striker we've ever had, and then you've got his boots to fill. So obviously psychologically, the fans are wondering why you're not getting 20 goals a season. Yeah,
100%. And also, I think if you're not scoring 20, but your team's first, second, third in the league, you kind of get away with it. But we weren't like pulling up any trees at that time.
Yeah.
But like there was me and there was Gary Hooper. Now look at Gary Hooper's career. You know, he's gone on to score in every league, Champions League, played for Celtic.
Yeah.
And he got a little bit of stick as well from the fans. So it was like me and him both got a lot of stick because we didn't jump in there like Freddie did. And Freddie, I think, was just one of them like one-offs. It was just meant to be with him at Southend, you know.
Yeah, definitely.
Really good lad. Like obviously got from a background where he didn't care about anything. He just went out there and scored, and he was great. But then when it came to me and Hoops and filling them shoes, we struggled. So and the crowd there was quite a big crowd back then at Southend, and like they were quite demanding, as a lot of fans are really. So they expected more, and I didn't deliver, so I got a bit. So it's pretty simple, I suppose.
Yeah. And there was an incident at Leyton away, wasn't there, after a penalty?
Yeah. So I missed a penalty. My good mate now, Brillo, saved it. And it was one of them where, so I could have been on penalties or not. And I chose to try and overcome the situation with the crowd by scoring a penalty and doing well. And I missed it, obviously. We lost 1-0 and the crowd kind of come for me quite bad. Like that, the away end was full because it's not a big one, and they started singing, "If Harrold can play for Southend, so can I." So I didn't enjoy that. That got to the moment where I was like, this ain't going to happen here. Do you know? I need to move on.
Yeah,
but
and I suppose automatically
again, it toughened me up.
Yeah, and I suppose automatically that's going to make you play worse because there's so many things on your mind, like such a point to prove. But on lighter note, you joined Wycombe at the end of the season, and it was probably one of your best goal-scoring periods in your career. You've done really well. Do you think that's because the shackles were off almost?
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, shackles were off, and I knew, like, without sounding like it's right, I knew I was a good player.
Yeah,
it just weren't happening at that club. You know, too much had happened. I never felt like I could really win people over. So went to Wycombe with Peter Taylor, who was really good for me, like gave me a lot of belief, and another really good dressing room. And we were a good team.
Yeah.
We got promoted that year. I scored 12, which probably didn't. I thought I was probably good for a few more, but we were quite a defensive team, how we set up. But obviously one promotion to League One, and it was great. And that's what I needed, because it gave me that belief that I can score goals.
Yeah.
And I had a big point to prove with Southend. Like, it was an issue in my head.
Yeah.
As you're probably going to bring up later, yeah. I've had a good record against them ever since.
Yeah. Was Gareth Ainsworth at the club then?
He came through League One, so the season after, with a new manager. And he was a great character. Yeah, I can see why he's doing well, because he's just got that personality you wanted to play for.
Yeah.
And with him, yeah.
Yeah, and then obviously after Wycombe, you played for Shrewsbury, Bristol Rovers and Crawley. And I'm going to bring up one incident in a minute, which you spoke about last night. But and a lot of fans, when they replied to the Instagram, asked this question: why do you always score against us?
You know what? It's because of the stick I got. Like it's that blatant. So I could probably talk through every goal. It's like we played Southend on a Tuesday night at Wycombe when we got promoted. And we probably weren't good enough for League One, that Wycombe team, but we played Southend on a Tuesday night, and I was nervous because I just wanted to play well and impress people and show them, you know. And I scored from a header early, and I kind of went mad, and I got a bit of stick, but it's fine. You know what? They gave it to me for 2 years, so I weren't gonna hold back at all.
Yeah.
So I scored that one, and then I don't know, later in that season, but then I scored for I scored again for Wycombe against them. Then I scored for Bristol a couple of times. Shrewsbury I scored. So it just seemed to be like every time I played against them, right, I'm showing you, you know. And I wish I'd done it against more clubs, but it was cool. And it got. I remember there was one game for Shrewsbury at Roots Hall, and it was the Bilal Moshni, was it? Is that how you pronounce it?
Bilal Moshni,
yeah. And I scored an absolute screamer, left foot, top corner. We won 2-0. I'd got him sent off, so the crowd were after me. But to be honest, that was probably my favourite game. One of my favourite games of my whole career.
Oh, really?
Because it was at Roots Hall, where I'd had a lot of stick along the years.
Yeah.
And we were winning. We were a very good team, that Shrewsbury team. And scored a great goal. I ran towards the South Stand? The one where all the
West Stand.
The singing. West Stand, sorry. I ran towards them, and there were blokes coming over the hoardings trying to get to me. Maybe blow it up more.
A bit like an Adebayor moment.
Yeah, it was a bit. You know what? It was a bit like that, and it was like so much built up rubbish, which I don't even blame people for now, because you know what? I weren't playing well, so I totally get why fans do it, and it's natural. And I just released, and I gave it to them, you know, and they give it back. They sung some stuff about me and stuff like that. But it's one of them things, and you have these spells in career. Because just another story. So I think before I joined Wycombe, I think that was like in the transfer window, I played Whittam in a pre-season game.
Yeah.
And I got a hell of a lot of stick behind a goal in a pre-season game. And I'd had enough by that stage. I was playing in like the Resi pre-season game.
Yeah.
And and during the game, I left the pitch to go and speak to the bloke and say, what's your flipping problem? Like,
Yeah.
I'm trying my best here. It ain't happened. Like, stop it. And he turned to me and he went, I love it. That's the passion I want to see, mate. It's like, I can't win it. Do you know what I mean? It was mad.
I suppose our
So,
fans are full of people like that.
yeah, but all fans are,
Yeah,
mate.
that's
I'm
true.
fickle when I watch Arsenal. It's mad. It's only when I calm down and realise, come on, like they're only humans.
Yeah, definitely.
You know? So yeah, I've enjoyed all my goals against Southend, mate. I've got to be honest.
I suppose you was a bit gutted you didn't get to play against us this season in the Cup.
Yeah, well, I played against you in the.
Oh, did you come on?
No,
Yeah.
I started. I was skipper for Orient, and we won 2-0. But I didn't score, and I remember seeing Chris Phillips after.
Yeah.
And I said to him, "Well, I didn't score in this one. That's unusual, isn't it?" You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Well, I think that was our 8th or 9th defeat of the season in a row. I think that was Kevin Bond's last game, actually.
Yeah, it was, because he didn't do the press after, I don't think.
Yeah, that was when the fans lost it at him.
But the fans were losing it. I could sense.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I think they weren't even giving me much stick. They were giving the team stick.
I went. I think that was the first time I went to that competition in a couple of years, and even though we started well, I think the first 5 minutes everyone was still singing for like Bond out. I was like, cool.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just strange decision, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Gary Waddock got about 10 games himself. So
yeah, I know. Yeah.
But yeah, it has been a bit of a mess this season. But talking about Bilal Moshni, do you still remember the incident with him, like that period during the game?
No, I remember him getting sent off. So I think he got sent off for 2 bookings, and we just had a proper ding dong, if you like. But I always thought, what a player! Like I knew I could see his ability, and he'd play up front and score a hat trick, wouldn't he? Like
and then play in defence next week.
Yeah, he was incredible. So I felt at that spell at Shrewsbury was probably the time where I felt at my best. Like I just felt confident. We were in a good team, good manager, and I just felt like I was ready to kind of like take him on. And I knew I'd have to wind him up a bit. And he would always go for the bait.
Yeah, quite easy, isn't it, with him?
Yeah, quite easy. So he ended up getting sent off, and I think he stood over me, screaming in my face, screaming in my face, and I was just like, ref. I sort him out, and I think he got 2 bookings, got sent off. Crowd kind of come for me, and then I stuck one in the top bin. So great day all round. But I always remembered what a good player he was, what a good opponent he was. And I thought, is he still playing or?
He played for a bit in France. I think he had trials with Crawley or someone like that in January.
Oh, right.
Yeah, he done an interview with Chris Phillips saying that he'd love to come back, which I'm sure would spice things up.
Oh, God, yeah. At least it would be interesting.
Definitely. That's what you want, didn't you?
Yeah, as fans, yeah.
Yeah. Then whilst at Crawley, I'm going to talk about one game in particular. You spent half a game in goal. What was that like?
Terrifying. Absolutely terrifying. Mate, it was mad. So I was on the bench that game. Dean Saunders was manager. I'd had a lot of injuries that season. And Brian Jensen, the old Burnley goalie, was in goal, and he dislocated his finger in a game. We had no squad. We were like bare bones. Injuries, didn't have a big squad. There wasn't much money at the club at the time, and it was just a terrible decision to go there. I could have gone to Northampton with Chris Wilder, but hey, you live and learn, eh?
Yeah.
So I went to Crawley because they were in League One, and I just wanted to test myself high level. And BJ came off dislocated thumb. Dean Saunders, who was an unbelievable character, turned to the bench and went, "Who's going in goal then? Matty, you're big, go in goal." So I got on the pitch, and I reckon for 6 minutes, it was the worst, most terrifying experience ever. I fumbled things round the post. Oh, it was terrible. When we got in at our time, and Dean Saunders actually went, "Has anyone else been in goal?" But I hadn't conceded.
Yeah.
And I was like, fucking cheeky bastard. But I don't know if I'm allowed to swear or not. But
that's fine.
Yeah, so I came out second half, and Brian Jensen actually went behind the goal with a sling on his hand and actually directed me where to stand, come out. And I ended up having an absolute great game. I was coming for crosses. I was kicking balls, you know. I couldn't kick out my hands. I could kick off the floor.
Yeah.
And we went 2-0 up against a good MK Dons team, and then Dele Alli and Will Griggs scored against me.
Oh.
Dele Alli scored an equaliser in the 96th minute. So
Cool.
that's probably what I'm most famous for, which is a shambles in my career, isn't it?
I suppose there's worse players to score against you, though.
Exactly, yeah. I've missed my claim to fame.
Was it your first ever game in goal? Did you spend there like when you was a child or anything like that?
No, I've never done it, mate, and I'm not in a massive rush to do it again. But it was a good experience, you know. Like I can look back and say I've been a goalie. I got man of the match that game as well.
Oh,
made
fair
one
play.
world-class save. Yeah, I've been a manager at there as well. So
yeah, I was just going to bring that up now.
Yeah, so it's mad.
Yeah, so final game of the season, you managed Crawley. What's that like as a player? Or so you weren't a manager.
Yeah, so it was surreal, really. So I got the call on like the Thursday. I only had Friday with the players, but I had quite a lot of respect within the club, in the dressing room, and they chose me to do it. And yeah, it was mad. I reckon I got about 4 hours sleep a night, just while I was thinking so much about the game.
Yeah.
And stuff. And it was crazy. It was an absolutely mad experience. So we were playing Mansfield, who were a good team. Steve Evans was manager. We went 2-0 down in the game, and honestly, I felt like the loneliest man on earth.
Yeah.
I just wanted the dugout to open up and fall through it. And then we managed to score a goal before half time, and it just completely changed the whole dynamic of the game. And we ended up nicking a draw and going 2-2, and really, really should have won the game. Like hit the post, and the players just played for me. Like it was great experience. The crowd got behind it and everything, and it was such a good day. And I actually nearly got the job. Like I was so close to getting the job. I don't know who knows that, but I was literally Harry Kill got it last minute, but I was literally taking the job, which I didn't feel ready for. So I always think that things happen for a reason, and I ended up going to Leyton Orient, a great club, and kind of having a great few seasons here. So I'm glad how it's worked out. It was mad how close I got to becoming a manager, though. So
did you have your badges?
It's crazy. I had my B license, and I think you can manage with your B license as long as you're working towards your A license. So I would have done that, which I'm now doing anyway. So I would have been able to take it, but it would have been a real big learning on the job, you know? But yeah, it's crazy. And then I ended up at Orient because Harry Kill, I didn't quite. I think it was mad. I think he actually felt like maybe I wanted the job still, even though I wanted to play. And we just didn't have a superb relationship. And I got a chance to go to a club where I kind of grew up around that area, so it was a no-brainer, really. Yeah,
so like you mentioned, 2017, you joined Leyton Orient. Describe that first season for me.
Tough. As tough, probably on a level with Southend in terms of the fans not being happy. Not with me personally so much, but the team as a whole. So I scored after about a minute of my debut, come on and scored a header. The team, we were like second in the league. Everything was great. And then we played our next game was against Boreham Wood. We lost 2-0. We were completely outplayed. And then we went on a run of about 14 games without winning. And it was terrible. Like, because Leyton Orient are a big club in kind of like the one League Two. They're a good club. They're well run now. And we just could not win against non-league teams, against part-time teams. And the manager got sacked, Steve Davis, who was a good manager. I just don't think he probably was right for the club. He didn't fit right, which happens. And I think sometimes after relegation stuff, it takes a little bit of time for clubs to sort themselves out. So it was a really tough time. But we got through it in the end. Justin got the job. And the rest is history, as they say. But it was tough because the crowd had massive expectations. And we were losing. We lost 3-0 to Halifax one game, and it was just a horrible environment. So it was tough.
And then obviously, like you said, Justin Edinburgh came in. How big was he for boosting morale? Because everyone I spoke to said how good of a manager he was.
Yeah, he was great. He was. he was just what we needed at the time. Big personality, very clear and basic in his message. Like, he didn't overcomplicate anything, and he just got lads playing for him. He knew good characters, you know. He knew the importance of team spirit and being a united bunch.
Yeah.
And he just simplified what he wanted of us. We kind of got back to basics, defending well, keeping clean sheets, scoring goals. But his first game, we went away to Solihull Moors. So by the sound of them, they don't sound like a luxurious club, and their ground was an absolute carsy.
Yeah.
And we went there and we trained all week with Justin, and it was a great week's training. It was like back to basics, and we all went there thinking, right, this is it. We're going to win this. And we lost 1-0, and he went a bit mad after the game, and it was like, wow, this actually could be an absolute disaster. We could get relegated again.
Yeah.
And it was tough, and it took all my experience and know-how to kind of and the rest of the kind of experienced players to then go on. And next week we had a home game against Sutton, and it was our Christmas do night. And the like after the game we were going to I don't know where it was, maybe Leeds for the night out. And the club said, well, look, if you don't win this game, we're not paying for your hotel tonight.
Yeah.
Like, the club usually like help you along with things like that.
Yeah.
And we ended up winning 4-1. I scored. We played great, and that was it. That was like the start of, you know what? It's like belief now, and we can go on and really push on. So it was mad, and it was a crazy time for myself, because my mum actually she nearly died of like a brain aneurysm at the time. So she's fine now. She survived it, but she was given a real slim chance to survive. So he was great for me then, Justin, because he kind of was on the phone and kind of helped me along and just said, well, look, like, you do what you do. But I wanted to play for it, because that was what I kind of like felt would help me get through it. So it was tough, and he helped me through that stage well. And we finished the season strong, and I finished the season with a bit of an injury. So I didn't kind of like finish that season. I'd done my hamstring, but coming to the next season, I felt we were in a good place as a team. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and then that second season needs no description, really. Champions. What was that like? For you personally, for the squad, the moments. Obviously, was it your first promotion?
No, I'd been promoted with Wickham from League 2 to League 1. And I've been in the playoffs a few times, so I knew what it was all about. But that was my first kind of Champions, you know.
Yeah.
And it was mad. So there's only 5 on the bench in non-league. And I found myself, I'd come back from my injury, scored a couple of goals, come off the bench and scored a couple of goals. And we'd had Josh Koroma and Macaulay Bonne on fire, like real good strike partnership. So I understood my role in a way. So I'd come on, I'd have an impact. But I found myself like not even getting on the bench a couple of times. And I had a big kind of like, I struggled, because I thought, well, I've had a long career. I've played 400 league games.
Yeah.
Like, I've achieved quite a lot, and yet I'm not getting on the bench in non-league. Like, what's all this about? And I had a bit of a kind of sit down with myself, and I said, kind of like, come on, get yourself together here. Like, come on, like you can have a real impact here.
Yeah.
So I done that. Justin was good, because I had the opportunity to leave, and I said, look, no chance. I'm staying.
Yeah.
And I think eventually by Christmas, he could see that I was having a big impact in what I wanted to do and around the place, my standards every day and stuff. And I loved the way he was, and I loved the way he managed and kind of treated everyone like men. And the dressing room was a team of good, experienced men who managed it a lot. I mean, it was quite an easy job for him, because he left us to it to manage.
Yeah.
But the minute you needed a pat on the back or you needed a bit of help, he was there to do it. So he just got the balance right. And it was crazy, and it just worked out in a great season. I mean, I come off the bench and had an impact so much.
Yeah.
And I kind of found my role with another couple of 2 forwards who were on fire. So And it was just such a great time, mate. Like, it's just like, it was mad. I played my whole career. I'd started a lot of games, but I enjoyed it so much, even in that role, because I knew I was still important, and every day was good going in. So yeah, they don't get much better than that in terms of as seasons go.
Yeah. Do you think the fact that Justin obviously did speak to you, did have chats with you, made you feel valued? Because obviously players who sit on the bench probably wouldn't feel that normally unless they had a manager there to reassure them.
Yeah, definitely. I'll go back to one thing. So, mate, we had a really good dressing room. Like, we had Joby, obviously, who's such a great guy, great leader. We had Charlie Lee, who, you know, proper midfielder, Lawsy, Alex Lawless. We had experience through the team, and like good winners, and just a good dressing room, like Josh Coulson. I can just go on through.
Yeah.
We had really good blokes mixed with really good young players. So it was crazy, really, how he could make me feel so valued, yet not having a huge role. And like, I went and had back to that story. So, and George Elakobi, we had him. So we played away at Wrexham, and the team talk the night before. So we had a meeting the night before, the morning of, and it wasn't about the team or that. It was about the players who have not been playing much, but are still the reason why we're doing so well. So he basically picked on me, George Elakobi, and Alex Lawless, and said, these guys have had great careers. They're not playing much, but they are training every day like they are starting, and they drive everyone's standards.
Yeah.
And that, in its way, like, made everyone feel so good that you're like, you know what? How can I moan about this? You know, like he appreciates what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And then there was meetings in the office where I'd maybe go and see him and say, well, I'm not on the bench. Like, I feel I should be. I'm better than who else is there. And he was so honest, and I'll never forget. He was like, well, look, I've brought other players into the club, and I'm going to give them a chance. Like, maybe you'll be in this situation once. And I was like, blimey, that is honest.
Yeah.
What can I say if he's being honest, you know?
Yeah.
And I was like, I respect that he told me the truth.
Mm.
And then he said, look, it can only go on so long. If you keep doing well, then you'll play. And I was like, shook his hand, you know, and I was like, brilliant. I came out of it, I carried on training hard, and I just kept going,
Yeah. And then you, whilst also champions, you went to the FA Trophy final at Wembley. Was that your first time at Wembley?
Yeah, so I'd always said I'll play at Wembley and I want to play there. So it happened eventually. It was mad because it was a bit weird. So I'd played in all that competition, scored quite a few goals in it. And I called myself to the lads the FA Trophy legend, like only as a joke.
Yeah.
So it got to the final and I weren't actually starting. So it was quite hard to take, but I knew I'd have an impact coming on. Funnily enough, my impact was clearing one of our own chances off the line, which I say to this day that I followed a shot in. I was doing my job like I'd want any forward to do, but he ended up hitting me. So, yeah, it was tough. That I expected us to win, but it was weird because we'd won the league and then we had 3 weeks off. We went on holiday together. We trained hard for a week. So it was just so weird. Whereas Fylde had already lost in the playoffs at Wembley and they were almost like playing free and they just beat us.
Yeah.
So it was frustrating, but obviously we got back. We went back to the Marriott, Waltham Abbey, and had a celebration there. And Justin got on the microphone and brought me up in it. He kind of said, Matty had a bet on Fylde having a clean sheet because I cleared one off the line. So it was just another. It was great because I knew his sense of humour.
Yeah.
And I knew that he liked me and he accepted me and stuff like that. And he knew that he could have a laugh like that with me. And I'd take it the right way. So it's terrible and sad looking back at it. Like, but these are the moments, these are the great moments I still think of, you know?
Definitely. So I'm going to bring you forward now to June. On the 3rd, he tragically suffered a cardiac arrest and then passed away in hospital 5 days later. Where were you when you found out, and what goes through your head, if you can describe that?
Found out the first part, or found out he actually passed away?
Both.
Or both?
Both.
So, I was in my car. Yeah, I was in my car. I was actually driving to Leon C to just have a walk and a coffee. And the message come through on the group chat from Ross, like the gaffer now.
Yeah.
And I just read it and I was like, what? I was like, I mean, how can you predict that? He was healthy, he was fit, he looked well for his age. Like, I couldn't believe it. So my initial reaction, I rung a couple of lads, rung Brillo. And the initial reaction was, as you've heard with maybe like Sam Allardyce or Ferguson or Benitez, maybe Glenn Hoddle, they have issues, but they get over them. Like there's a bit of rehab and stuff. So my initial thought was, he might not be in charge for the first game, but we will get him back. So then in them 5 days, we had a lot of different news. I remember there was some stuff that came out on Twitter that was not good.
Yeah.
And I was just like, the longer it went on, although it's mad that you said it was 5 days, because it felt much longer to me. It felt like 2 weeks. So I was actually in Greece with the family and Simon Francis, funny enough, obviously who played for Southend, and his family. And we were over dinner, and Lingy put Martin Ling, our director of football, put a message in the group, kind of saying there's a conference call with the owners. So like, this is what you need to do: dial this number. And like, the dread just come over me because I thought, why would we be doing that? And then messages started coming through on the lads group chat, like, no, like it can't be. And then got on the call and got told, and like, it was crazy. Like, just got the call, come off, and just kind of like broke down a little bit. But it was more shock at the time. So it's really, really hard to take. Yeah. Because I did really expect him to pull through. So it was mad, and it's crazy thinking back to it now. But the holiday was hard because I just kept like thinking of him all the time. But it was good to have friends around me there and like family. But yeah, it was really, really tough because anytime I found myself on my own, I'd think of him a lot. And obviously a lot of the lads were grieving as well, so it was tough. So no, it was tough, mate. Really tough.
Yeah, obviously, sorry to bring it up. I know it's obviously tragic memories. Fine. Yeah,
nice, mate. Like, there's a lot of good memories, but I haven't actually probably thought about this so specifically for a while. So it's mad how it's just come back. Yeah, but I'm sweet.
Good. Do you think that's all spurred you on as a team the past season? Like the fact that you're collectively mourning, you want to do it for Justin almost?
Yeah, well, it's crazy. So that happened, and there's no what do you do? I don't think that's ever happened before. So we had that intention, but our leader and our main focal point of the manager had gone. So it was so weird, you know. And the boss now, Ross, has been unbelievable trying to carry it on. And I think now we've got to a real good place. Yeah. But it took a long time to get there, you know. Like, it took a long time, and he didn't want the job at first. And then I think he realised, you know what, I can do it. But in between, we had another manager as well.
Yeah, it was an old Plymouth manager, wasn't it?
Yeah, Carl Fletcher. Yeah. And it's interesting. So it didn't work, and it probably was the wrong time, wrong place. It just didn't work. And I have a lot of respect for him. I thought he was a very good coach. But as a group, we just weren't in the right place for that thing. And it's one of them things, like, I'd love to have a drink with him and just speak to him about it, because I gave absolutely everything under him to help him do well, but it just didn't work. So the season has been absolutely, like, it's just been so up and down. We've got a group of lads, a really good group of lads, who we have had the best intentions, but it's been up and down. And I think where we are, which is mid-table and safe, is a reflection on everything that's happened and everything that's gone on. And I generally think now going forward, we're in a good place. Yeah. And it's just obviously with this whole COVID and stuff that's going on is a shame, because I think we would have finished the season strong. So it's just been a season of, you'll never have another season like this, mate. So
definitely.
It's definitely, like, I've made friends for life, and we've got a real good group. So yeah, it's crazy. crazy.
Yeah, and obviously football moves on very fast. I know seeing on Twitter that after a few games, fans will be very quick to judge, but without realising the situation.
Yeah, which is again almost back to the Southend situation with the fans.
Yeah,
It's just how football is. It's how life is, isn't it? I
yeah,
mean, it's almost like people move on quickly without knowing what is going on inside the building. So if you'd have said the person who brought you to winning a championship was now not there, but it's not as if he got another job. It was he passed away
yeah,
and left a lot of people kind of like grieving,
yeah,
then that is why you'd probably see why our results were up and down, you know?
definitely. And I think that's quite obvious to see, like the highs and the lows.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, definitely.
what's next for you in your career? Do you see yourself retiring at Orient?
Yeah, I would. I mean, I haven't signed a contract for next season. I've spoke to the club about it. That was always my plan because as well as upping my kind of roles in terms of coaching
Yeah,
and kind of having a bit of a role like that. That's how I see myself. I've had conversations with the club about it. Obviously, with what's going on, things
yeah,
things are up in the air. Like nothing's been sorted.
yeah,
So I see my future there. It's a club that I genuinely do love. I grew up. I was born in Leyton, so it's kind of mad. My dad and his mates grew up around there and kind of having an affiliation to the club.
yeah,
And it was crazy. I always said I'll play for Leyton Orient, and it was weird how at Crawley, where I thought I'd maybe be for a long time, it came up the opportunity to go there. And after scoring after a minute, I thought, God, this is meant to be, you know.
yeah,
And it's turned out in a bit like that because we've had success, and I genuinely see a future at the club. Hopefully.
yeah,
So I'm doing my coaching badges. I'm doing my A license, and I see a role. Maybe I want to stay in football in whatever respect. I feel like
yeah,
I've got a lot to give. So that's how I see my future going. I'd love to play another season or maybe two.
yeah,
Definitely one more season. I still think I can have an impact and help the squad. So that's how I see it, and that's hopefully how it'll turn out. Obviously, we need to get over this hurdle
yeah.
of the COVID, which I can see a bit of a kind of things resuming.
Yeah.
Hopefully,
Like light at
so
the end of the
that's how I
tunnel.
see it, man.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to know, innit? Without
yeah,
knowing the exact things, I think there's been a lot of fear peddled by the media, which some of it's right, but some
yeah.
of it's probably made everyone so fearful. So
Just trying to
it's
sell a few
interesting. It's hard
stories.
to know. Exactly.
Yeah. Do
Yeah,
you see?
exactly. And there's so much news, so yeah, it's hard to
Yeah.
know. Yeah.
Do you see yourself managing or coaching? Like, what do you think you'd prefer? Like the assistant's job or the main man?
I don't know, to be honest. It's it's something where I think now to be a good manager, you need to know the game and you need to be able to coach. So I
Yeah.
suppose my first priority is learning and developing as a coach, and then I feel like I've got the capabilities to maybe manage in the future. But
Yeah.
it's something that I think I need to develop and learn more about in the meantime, being able
Yeah.
to do it. But I feel like I've got the personality that could do it. So,
Yeah.
but it's not an easy job, mate. As I've learned over the years, God, it's such a tough job. So, I don't know if I want to lose my lovely auburn hair yet and turn it grey. But yeah, it's something that I'm open-minded to. I'd say I'd leave it like that. But I definitely I just want to be honest, mate. I want to kind of develop skills that I'm doing, kind of business marketing. I'm on the PFA with that. I've got kind of good contacts with. I could see myself doing a few things, but I
Yeah.
would definitely consider going down that route. Yeah.
Decent. So we're going to end on a bright note. You've been lucky enough to play for a lot of clubs and a lot of great players. I'm going to ask you for your favourite 11 with a maximum of 4 per team. Any formation you like.
Right. Yeah. So I forgot about this until you texted me last night, and I think I've missed people out, which is going to be annoying. But I'm going to go with just the ones I've thought of quickly. So in goal, I'm going to go Flavs,
Yeah.
obviously, Southend goalie.
Mm-hmm.
I played with him again at Crawley, but it was between him and I played with Freddie Woodman at Crawley, who's a Newcastle goalie. He's a young lad, but Flavs just was in that season in the Championship and the one before was just such a good goalie. Technically, just brilliant. Was a leader in his own way. Pulled off unbelievable saves because obviously, as everyone says, he was not a huge goalie, but technically he was unbelievable. Your shooting sessions, it would be so hard to beat him just because I knew how much he loved the profession and how much he respected it, and he was just technically very good. So I'm going to go with Flavs in goal. Another goalie there was Glenn Morris, who's a very good goalie. I'm going to go Frano right back. Now, he's my best mate, but he is by a mile the best right back I've ever played with. Like it was crazy joining Southend and seeing him. I'm like, oh my God, this guy's got the lot, tall, can run, cross, technically good. So yeah, he's in a right back, and he's gone on to have an incredible career in the Premier League. So it just showed my first kind of like feeling on him was correct, and it just took him to mature, I think, to become what he is now. Centre half was tough because I'm going to go Barrett. Because he helped me a lot at the club when I was going through a bit of a rubbish time, but he also was a great goal scorer in centre half, good leader, Southend legend. So I'm going to go for Ad. I'm going to go Connor Goldson next to him. So he plays for Rangers now, but he was a young lad at Shrewsbury when I was there, and I just knew, seeing him at 70 years old, he was going to play in the Premier League, which he has with Brighton, and he will have a career at that level. The other one who was hard for me to leave out was my Shrewsbury centre half. Another one was Ian Sharps, great captain. He was like of the Adam Barrett mould. Great bloke, like serious pro. But I'm going to go with one old one and one young one. So that's why I've gone for Adam Barrett and Connor Goldson. Left back, it was tough. I'm going to go Nathan Jones, the old Luton manager.
Yeah, joining them
so
today,
it was out of him.
Rumoured to be joining
now. I couldn't believe it. I'm going to text him. But I'm going to go for him again because he was very good. He helped me probably more than any other player in terms of developing.
Where did you play with him?
At Yeovil. Only for like a season and a bit. So he just was great bloke. He had a great left foot that it was good to play with as a front man because I knew the ball was coming into me. So I'm going to go him at left back. The other one was Lee Brown, who's my teammate at Bristol Rovers. Very good player. He's at Portsmouth now, doing well. So I'm going to go for Jonesy. The left wing, I'm going to go Mark Gower.
Mark Gower, yeah.
So obviously very good player. Went on to play in the Premier League with Swansea. Just had so much ability, mate, cutting in on the right hand side. I'm gonna go for Mark Gower there. Centre midfield was tough. I'm actually gonna play Joby in there, I think. Just because playing with him the last season, I realised what a good player he was. I'm going to play him alongside Chris Cohen. So he was Nottingham Forest player who I was with at Yeovil, and he was just like, you just knew he was destined for great things. He came from West Ham, and he was just too good for us. Like I couldn't say better than that. He was just like, how have we managed to get him? And he ended up going and having a 10-year career at Nottingham Forest. But he had 3 cruciate injuries, so that curtailed him. But I've got to mention in midfield, so I've got to mention Kevin Mayer. Obviously, great player for Southend.
Definitely.
Like he nearly made it. Jimmy Smith at Crawley, who I played with, is a good pal of mine. Who kind of, when you needed if I played a different formation, so I'm playing 4-4-2. If I was playing like a diamond or a 10, he would have been in there because he's a great goal scorer from midfield. Alan McCormack was a good player. And Tommy Dock at Wickham, he was good, but I'm sure I've missed people out, mate. So, that one. And then on the right-hand side, it was a toss-up between Jamal Campbell-Rice and John Solarco, but I'm going with Johnny Solarco, just because
Yeah.
he was like a bit of a superstar at the time. When I was young, at 18 at Brentford, and he'd come down from playing at England and everything like that. And I had 2 seasons with him, and his training, work ethic, and stuff like that was incredible. And I just learned a hell of a lot about being professional from him. He was just so good, mate, and you could see why he played for England and stuff.
Yeah.
Another one was Johnny Taylor at Shrewsbury. He was a good player. He nearly made it, but and then up front was tough. I'm gonna go with. I was gonna put Gary Hooper in there because obviously what he's gone on to do, but I didn't obviously see the very best of him at Southend. So I'm gonna go James Collins, who's the Luton striker now.
Yeah.
He played in the game I managed, and I played with him at Shrewsbury and at Crawley, and I just think natural goal scorer. He's like a lower league Alan Shearer to me. He's just much better than people realise, and just hungry for goals. So I'm going to go for him, and I'm going to go for Josh Koroma as well. I nearly put Macca in there, Macaulay Bonne. But him and James Collins are very similar, and I do think Macca will have an unbelievable career. I just went for Colo just because he's that little bit older and a little bit more proven. And I'm going to go with Josh Koroma behind him, just in the off the striker, just tricky. He'll have a great career. Really good lad. Got a goal in him, got an assist in him. So that's my team. I think it's a pretty good team.
Definitely. And who's Gaffer?
Oh, who's Gaffer? Justin, obviously.
Justin, yeah,
definitely.
Cool. Well, that's a good team, and I appreciate you taking time out of your day to speak to me. Hopefully, it weren't too boring.
Is the game looking? No, it was good. I enjoyed it, mate. I love talking about myself.
Good.
Is the game?
Well, I've spoken to the club, and it's obviously they don't know until the government tells them, but it'll be when it's safe. So, my gut instinct will be next May after the season, or whenever the next season finishes. But should be good, hopefully. Yeah,
great. No, well, I appreciate everything you're doing, mate. It's really great, and we'll have that game eventually, won't we?
Cheers. Yeah. Well, that's thank you to my guest Matt Harrold today on the 4th episode of Charity Cop Chats. Cheers, Matt.
Cheers, mate. Take care. See you later. See you, everyone. See you later.